Aloha guys, Joe Tunney. I'm here comparing the 2019 Honda Passport versus the 2019 Honda CRV, visiting my friend here, Corey Johnson, at Big Island Honda and his amazing team here in the beautiful city of Kona on the Big Island of Hawaii. And when I think about the Passport versus the CRV, it's kind of a big deal for me. And it takes me all the way back to a gentleman you might or might not have heard of before named Cal Worthington. And Cal Worthington was an eccentric car dealer, particularly in California, who was famous for doing flamboyant car commercials, and everyone thought he was borderline crazy. The truth about Cal Worthington, he's actually an amazing war hero who did 29 bombing runs over Germany during World War II. And when he came back, he was had 5 different honorable medals, and then was finally given the Honorable Flying Cross by Jimmy Doolittle upon his return. He's one of the great war heroes of World War II. He wanted to be a pilot when he finished his service in the military, but he didn't have a college degree, so they wouldn't let him be a pilot, even though he was a pilot and a war hero during World War II. So he went to the post office and talked them into letting him have 4 stalls at the post office, in which he sold cars out there on the weekends to make a couple of extra bucks. And before he knew it, he was so successful that he had his own store. Across the street was the rival dealership, and it was this big tough guy, and he had this tough German Shepherd. He was so muscular and cool and everything else, and he featured all his TV commercials with this tough guy dog. And so Cal Worthington featured his own commercials, and he had his own dog spot in the car commercial, except his dog spot was, of course, a gorilla, or an ostrich, or a donkey, or something silly all of the time, to make fun at that kind of crazy mentality, even though he himself was a major war hero. In the end, Cal Worthington ended up buying off that rival dealer across the street, having a gigantic empire that was making for him at one point over $300 million in gross income a year. He became the #1 independent car dealer in the entire world, and retired to a town outside of Sacramento, between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe, to his ranch of 24,000 acres. Just my kind of guy. And it was people like Cal Worthington who got me excited about being proud of being in the car business. In fact, I was thrilled to be in the car business, and I was selling Hondas in the late 1990s. And the 2 Hondas that I was selling predominantly were the Honda Passport and the Honda CRV. And so, a little baby story about the Honda Passport. I picked my girlfriend up years ago in a silver Honda Passport. She thought I looked cute. We ended up having such a fun day that 22 years later, we have 3 kids together, have traveled around the world, and she's actually the person filming this video you're watching right now. So we're going to compare the CRV to the Passport and see what's changed for 2019. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Passport's got its work cut out for it. The CRV is one of my favorite vehicles on the road. So we're going to start with the CRV by popping the hood. Now, in LX models, the CRV has a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine, which is pretty big, with over 180 horsepower. Advanced levels have a 1.5 liter engine with a turbocharger, and even though the engine is smaller, it puts out more power. It has 190 horsepower to go with 179 foot-pounds of torque. But even with all-wheel drive, it's so efficient that despite its power, despite its size, so just around 3,400 to 3,500 pounds, it averages about 30 miles per gallon, which is absolutely incredible. Let's take a look around, take a look inside. Now, this color is called platinum white. Formerly, it would have been white diamond pearl, which isn't quite as bright as the platinum white is. I'm a big fan of the platinum white. And I'm also a big fan of the interior of the CRV. Let me just scoot this back just a little bit so I get comfortable. I'm 6 feet tall, about 180 pounds, and I'm all kinds of comfortable in here. It looks sumptuous, it's got a real gourmet kind of vibe to it. Everything's just where you think it's going to be. Nice big moonroof, nice big thick steering wheel, It's a Honda, and if you've experienced Hondas before, they just have always made amazing interiors, and that's not an exception here. The CRV has fabulous interior. But let's take a look in back. The CRV is not particularly big, so there's going to be a worry that the interior room isn't going to be what you want it to be, so therefore you need a bigger sport utility. Well, you saw I put the seat back so that I could get nice and comfortable. Take a look at this back seat space. It's unbelievably spacious in the back seat. Super duper comfortable, tons of headroom, tons of shoulder room, 5 full-size adults, not a problem. Coming around back, you know, the CRV used to be a little bit boxy, but these days it has very sculpted lines. It's actually super duper stylish. And then behind the rear seat, it has almost 40 cubic feet of interior space, so tremendously spacious in the back. Most small sport utilities with the seats up in the back, well, they're small, so they're not that spacious in the back. Absolutely not the case with the CRV. Now, if you flip the handle, you'll notice that the rear seats are 60-40. So you can have 2 people on one side and fold down the small side, or you can do it vice versa. The seats fold flat, and as a result, you have almost 80 total cubic feet of storage inside the CRV. Lots of space in the back. Big spacious area for your spare tire. Let's take a look around. So outside it looks great, inside it looks great. But let's see how it compares to the Passport. Now, the Passport shares its platform with the Honda Pilot, so it's going to be much bigger in every way. Or so you'd think. It's actually not as different from the CRV as you'd imagine. Unlike the Pilot, the Passport is set up to go off-road. So instead of a little bit more than 7 inches of ground clearance, this has more than 8 inches of ground clearance. But guess what else has more than 8 inches of ground clearance? The CRV. Let me pop the hood. Now, the engine is vastly more powerful in the Passport than it is in the CRV. The CRV has a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. This is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated 6-cylinder. And so this has 290 horsepower to go with 270 pound-feet of torque. So performance massively on the side of the Passport, especially if there's a full load in your vehicle, which there could very well be. Also, the Passport tows and the CRV does not. Maxed out, the CRV can tow 1,500 pounds. The Passport can tow 5,000 pounds. Taking a look around, well, all Passports come with 20-inch wheels. They're different for the different model lines. This one is an Elite model, and this would be the 20-inch wheels that are featured on the Elite model. But let's take a look inside. Well, everything I like about the CRV, I like even more in the Passport. It's just that next click roomier. Not lots roomier, just a little bit more roomy. And then, although the CRV is a little bit busy as far as its interior goes, it's very functional, and in fact, I like it. And maybe I even prefer it. But I do like the layout of the Passport very, very well. It's the same interior concept up front here as the Pilot. In fact, they're identical. Let's jump in back. Well, this is a bigger truck, so you can do more things with the interior than you can in the CRV. The CRV doesn't have the theater seating that the Passport does, so it makes it more comfortable in the back. However, overall room, although I have a little bit more headroom, unless you have people who are 7'3" in the back of your vehicle, that's not really going to matter all that much. It has more headroom than a 6-footer is going to need by a half foot. But it is that next level a bit more spacious and comfortable over the CRV. Let's take a look in the back. Well, the Passport has class-leading interior dimensions. So this has 41.2 cubic feet of storage space in the back, which is a lot. However, that's only 2 cubic feet more than the CRV. The CRV doesn't have great interior space. It has astonishing interior space for what it is. When the seats are folded down, the Passport has an advantage over the CRV, but not a big advantage like you might think. The Passport is bigger, heavier, chunkier. This is over 600 pounds heavier than the CRV. 600 pounds heavier than the CRV means that gas mileage isn't quite the same. It gets great gas mileage for a vehicle over 4,000 pounds with all-wheel drive. It averages 21 miles per gallon. It's just 21 miles per gallon isn't the same as 30 miles per gallon. Let's take a look back inside. Now, the Passport is built in Alabama. The CRV is built in several places around the world, but for most of the North American market, they're built in either Ohio or Illinois. And we've talked about this before in that Honda has such an enormous investment in the United States. Is Honda even an import vehicle company, or is this today's American vehicle? American trucks have always been at the root of the auto industry in the United States, going back generations. Is this today's American truck? And I think we're at a crossroads where maybe this is today's American truck, as American buyers have decided, hey, we want everything. We want size, we want space, we want the versatility to do the things we want, and we want the variety to do the things we want with the people we want to do it with. We want reliability, fuel economy, safety. Well, both of these vehicles have all of those things in spades, but something both have that nobody else comes close to is resale value. The resale value on the Passport, you already know, is going to be quite high. The resale value on the CRV is second to none in the category. I'm a huge fan of the Passport. I really do love it. But the CRV is a tough act to follow. The CRV does about 95% of everything that the Passport does. It costs a lot less money and it gets a lot better fuel economy. But as crazy as it sounds, if I had to pick one over the other, I think I'd go for the Passport ultimately, because I just love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. It's just big and chunky and menacing, and it reminds me of old 4Runners, and I loved old 4Runners, and I absolutely love this Passport. But I'll be honest with you, no matter which one you pick, you hit a home run. They're as good gets in the automobile industry. And if you have any questions, hey, anytime, reach out to my friends at Big Island Honda. Corey Johnson, the manager here, is one of the coolest guys you'll ever be able to work with in your life. And if you have any questions of me, reach out to me anytime. Joe Tunney at joeloveshawaii@gmail.com.